What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the December 16th, 2024 edition of Raw Talk. Megan Murray and Sam Roberts in the studio, opening up the episode, replaying the main event, or recapping the main event, with the War Raiders becoming the new World Tag Team Champions, beating the Judgment Day in the main event, with an assist from Damian Priest. More on that later. They also replay the Intercontinental Championship clash between Bron Breakker and Ludwig Kaiser, Breakker retaining, of course. We hear from Breakker backstage afterward with Jackie Redmond, and Bron Breakker calls Kaiser a cockroach of a sewer rat, and that he's happy to be finally done with Kaiser, have him in his rearview window, and he says that no one is taking that championship from him. 2025 will be the year of Breakker, and that was pretty much it. So a pretty confident Breakker here following a successful defense of the Intercontinental Championship. Breakker's been a mainstay on Raw Talk during the 2-hour era of the show in the last couple of months. Hopefully we could see more of this mic work and promos on Raw itself when it goes back to 3 hours on Netflix, or 2+ hours, whatever the fuck it's going to be, runtime-wise. Because he's having really, really good promos, and I feel like not enough people are seeing this stuff because it's only airing on Raw Talk and not really on Raw. Now, they did replay the Breakker-Kaiser brawl from last week's Raw Talk on Raw itself last night, but we need to see more of the promos as well. People need to be seeing more of this stuff because it feels like the championship isn't really as regarded as highly as it was even a couple of months ago. I mean, the championship's been fine back on Breakker in the last couple of months, but it does feel like it's taken a backseat to other stuff because we're not seeing the storyline progression on Raw itself, but rather relegated to Raw Talk. So anyway, back in the studio, they replay the opening segment with Seth Rollins and CM Punk brawling, leading to the announcement from later on in the show from Adam Pearce. It will be Punk versus Rollins on the first Raw on Netflix in 2025, January 6th. They preview that match here in the studio before also hyping up Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa in a tribal combat match for also that first Raw on Netflix. They replay the main event officially here with the War Raiders becoming the new World Tag Team Champions. They also replay Zoe Stark advancing in the Women's Intercontinental Championship Tournament in the quarterfinals, advancing to the semifinals, beating Katie Carter and Raquel Rodriguez. We hear from Pure Fusion Collective afterward. It was Zoe Stark or I think it was Shayna and Sonya Deville just kind of talking amongst themselves about how, they did what they needed to do to kind of, they didn't, I don't think outright reveal they were the ones who attacked Kairi Sane, but they kind of heavily hinted at it here. Zoe Stark comes in a frame and says they're closer to becoming the Women's Intercontinental Champion, and that now that Kairi Sane is hurt, as we saw on Raw last night, a spot may have just opened up in the tournament. So it looks like Sonya Deville might be replacing Kairi Sane in the tournament. Who gives a shit? I know what they're trying to do here, and I just don't care. So we also hear from Damage Control, or at least Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Kairi Sane's out now. Asuka's been out for a while. We're down to 2 with Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Dakota Kai says they don't have an update on Kairi Sane. They don't have an update on her position or involvement in the IC title tournament, but they do say, or rather Dakota Kai says, that the PFC has crossed the line. Pure Fusion Collective. PFC, KFC, whatever the fuck. And when Kairi Sane is cleared, she says, they will put PFC on the shelf for good. And Io Sky echoes those sentiments. We also hear from Dexter Lumis in one of those weird, creepy, Wyatt 6 vignette type things. And it's kept very brief, but I thought this was cool. He just said that he took Miz and he took him again, kind of recalling their history from years ago when he kidnapped him, when he first came back to the company in 2022. And he gave him the gift that was given to him by hurting him. And that was it. So kind of some cryptic stuff here. I imagine that was his way of saying that he's going to hurt Miz next week on Raw. I don't know. This didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but that's typical Wyatt 6 stuff. So I thought this was good. They previewed Dexter Lumis versus Miz for next week's Raw. Because there was just so little actual stuff on Raw this week, there were like fucking 3 or 4 matches, a lot of vignettes and shit. It was a good show, I thought. But there wasn't really a whole lot to review, so they kind of had to resort to playing the final few moments of the World Heavyweight Championship match from Saturday night's main event because there wasn't a whole lot else to replay from Raw because we didn't get a whole lot of stuff in the ring, you know what I mean? So they do that. They also question who's next for Gunther. He was not on Raw last night, I don't think, so we still don't know who's next in line to challenge for that World Heavyweight Championship. We hear from Ludwig Kaiser backstage. He praises Bron Breakker as a generational talent, all this other sort of stuff. But he still felt like going into that match last night that he was the better wrestler. And although he lost, he says that he's a winner. He's not used to losing like Jackie Redmond, who was interviewing him. He's not used to losing like us, the fans. He is a natural-born winner. He belongs at the top of the food chain, and he has no more words, and he walks off. Not Jeff Hardy, no more words, but he's just simply speechless, and he leaves. So, that was that. Good promo from Kaiser. Again, I wish we would see more of this stuff on Raw itself, and not just on Raw Talk. This is how you get more people to care about Kaiser. The match getting a ton of time was great. The Kaiser Breakker match was very good. But I am hoping as Raw kind of goes back to being 3 hours in January, or at least 2+ hours, we can get more of this sort of stuff on Raw itself, or at least replayed on Raw. Getting it on Raw Talk is great. It makes this show more worthwhile. But if you don't replay it on Raw, because no one fucking watches Raw Talk, then it's not really going to do much good. They run down the Slam and 7 from the night. They also replay the Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan segment setting up their future World Women's Championship matchup for another time. They didn't specifically say the first Raw on Netflix, but I have to imagine that is where it's going to take place. And then to close out the show, they have Sam Roberts as top 5 stars of the night, Dominic Mysterio, Zoe Stark, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and the new World Tag Team Champions, the War Raiders. Good show here. Per usual, Breakker and Kaiser were the highlights, as they have been for weeks now. But we also got to hear from Damage Control, PFC, Dexter Lumis, which was interesting. I thought it was an overall thumbs-up edition of Raw Talk, following a thumbs-up edition of Monday Night Raw last night in Boston. So speaking of Boston, Mass, whatever, I will be, I believe, as of this recording anyway, this could change, doubt it will, but I will be at NXT Lowell tonight. So I'll be driving there. You can check out my on-set report from that show in written form on WrestleRant.com at some point tomorrow or on Thursday later in the week. I'll also be discussing it with Mr. Marceau, who will be joining me for the show in just mere hours from when I'm speaking right now. Tonight, we'll be talking about it on WrestleRant Radio on Thursday. And I also hope to be at the WWE HQ Raw Kickoff on Netflix event in Stamford, CT tomorrow. So a lot going on. Be sure to check out all the content from all said events and stuff here on the channel. I appreciate your support. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.